He thought buying that car made him look successful. I knew it would destroy him. But what I didn't expect was that someone had already destroyed him on paper. And the moment I saw it, I stopped thinking about fixing the problem. I started thinking about revenge. My name is Zara, and I don't like being lied to, especially by people who think they're too smart to get caught. Started in January. Ian showed up at my place early in the morning, holding his car keys like they meant something, like they proved something. I did it, he said, trying to sound confident. I finally got a new car. I didn't smile. Because Ian wasn't the type of person who could afford a new car, not even close. He worked long hours, barely got paid enough, and somehow always convinced himself things would work out. They never did. So I asked him one simple question. How much is the monthly payment? He hesitated. That hesitation told me everything I needed to know, but I let him say it anyway. $7.95. For a second, I thought I heard him wrong. $795? He nodded, trying to look like it was normal. You barely make $1,200 a month, I said quietly. He laughed, but it didn't sound real. It'll be fine, he said. I'll figure it out. No, he wouldn't. And deep down, I think he already knew that. I held my hand out. Give me the paperwork. He didn't argue. He just handed it over like he was hoping I'd tell him everything was okay. I already knew it wasn't. I started going through the documents slowly. Not rushing, not reacting, just reading. Every page, every number, every signature. At first, it looked exactly like what I expected. Overpriced car. High interest rate. Extra charges hidden in places most people wouldn't notice. It was bad, but it wasn't illegal. And that meant fixing it wouldn't be easy. I kept reading anyway. Because something didn't feel right. Deals like this don't just happen. Not like this. Not for someone like Ian. Then I found it. Not in the contract. Not in the obvious place. In the application copy. I read it once. Then again. Slower this time. And suddenly everything made sense. I looked up at him. No bank would approve this. He frowned. Approve what? This deal. Why not? I turned the paper toward him and tapped the number with my finger. Because according to this, you don't make $14,000 a year. He leaned closer, confused. What are you talking about? They told the bank you make $70,000. His face changed slowly, like his brain was trying to catch up with what his eyes were seeing. That's not right, he said. I know, I replied. And in that moment, everything shifted. This wasn't just a bad decision anymore. This wasn't just a mistake. This was fraud. And not ours. The dealership didn't just take advantage of him. They lied. They changed his income. They submitted false information. And they got the deal approved based on that lie. Which meant one thing. They didn't just overcharge him. They committed a crime. I closed the file calmly. Ian looked at me nervous. What does this mean? It means, I said slowly, you're not the one in trouble anymore. He blinked. What? I stood up and grabbed my bag. It means they are. Wait, where are you going? I looked at him. To fix this. He hesitated. You really think we can? I didn't smile. I know we can. Because this wasn't about asking anymore. This wasn't about negotiating. This was about pressure. And I knew exactly how to apply it. We drove to the dealership in silence. Ian kept glancing at me like he wanted to ask something but didn't. Good. Because if he had asked me what I was planning, I wouldn't have answered. Not yet. When we walked in, everything looked the same. Bright lights, clean floors, fake smiles everywhere. The kind of place where people pretend everything is honest while quietly doing the opposite. The sales manager recognized Ian immediately. "Hey, how's the new car?" he asked with a grin. I stepped forward before Ian could answer. "I need to speak to your GM." The smile faded slightly. "About what?" I placed the paperwork on the desk. "About a problem you're going to want to fix." He glanced at the papers, then back at me. "What kind of problem?" I leaned in just enough for my voice to stay calm but clear. The kind that turns into a criminal case if ignored. That got his attention. He picked up the papers quickly, flipping through them. I watched his face change. Confusion. Then tension. Then silence. "I'll go get him," he said. "Good choice." A few minutes later, the GM walked out. Confident, relaxed, completely unaware of what was waiting for him. He sat down across from me. "What seems to be the issue?" he asked casually. I didn't respond right away. I simply placed both documents in front of him. Side by side. "Take a look," I said. He glanced at them quickly at first. Then slower. Then again. And that confidence? It disappeared. Completely. He knew. The moment he saw it, he knew exactly what had happened. And more importantly, he knew that I knew. He looked up at me carefully. "What do you want?" I leaned back slightly. Finally, he was asking the right question. And this time, I smiled. I didn't answer him immediately. I let the silence sit between us heavy enough to make him uncomfortable. Because people like him aren't used to silence. They're used to controlling the conversation, not waiting for someone else to decide how it goes. Finally, I leaned forward slightly. "Unwind the deal." He didn't react the way Ian expected. No shock, no panic. Just a slow breath and a careful expression. "That's not something we can just do," he said. "It is," I replied calmly. "No, there are processes. There are consequences," I cut in. "And I don't think you want yours documented." That hit him. Not loudly, but deeply. I could see it in the way his jaw tightened. He wasn't thinking about the deal anymore. He was thinking about exposure. About what happens if this goes beyond this room. About who finds out. About how far it spreads. He leaned back in his chair, trying to regain control. "You're making this sound bigger than it is," he said. I almost smiled. "Almost. Am I?" I slid one of the papers closer to him and tapped the income number again. "Because this looks like falsified financial information submitted to a bank." I paused just long enough. Which usually doesn't stay small. Ian shifted beside me. I could feel his nervous energy building. He wasn't used to this kind of pressure. He wasn't used to conflict at this level. But I didn't look at him. If I did, it would weaken the moment. And right now, this moment mattered. The GM exhaled slowly. What exactly are you asking for? I kept my voice steady. Cancel the loan, take the car back, return his trade-in. Simple, clear, direct. He shook his head slightly. It's not that simple. It is, I said again. No, it's not. The deal is already done. The car is titled. The bank is involved. And so is fraud, I interrupted. Once again, this time heavier. More serious. Because now I wasn't hinting anymore. I was saying it clearly. And he knew it. He looked at me differently now. Not like a customer. Not like someone he could talk around. But like a problem. A real one. Give me a minute, he said finally. I nodded once. He stood up and walked away. The second he was out of sight, Ayan leaned closer to me. Are you sure about this? He whispered. I kept my eyes forward. Yes. What if this goes wrong? It won't. How do you know? Because I understood something he didn't. People don't fight cases they know they'll lose. And right now, they knew. We're not asking, I said quietly. We're giving them a way out. He didn't respond. But I could feel him trying to believe me. Trying to trust that this would work. A few minutes passed. Long enough to feel intentional. Then the GM came back. Different now. More careful. More measured. I looked into it, he said as he sat down. And there's an issue with the trade-in. Of course there was. I didn't react. What kind of issue? He hesitated for half a second. We already sold it. Ayan turned to me quickly. I didn't look at him. I kept my focus on the GM. Good, I said. He blinked, slightly confused. That's not good. It is, I replied. It means you made money. He frowned. That's not how this works. It is now. I leaned forward just enough to shift the pressure back onto him. You took his car, you sold it, you profited from it. I tapped the paper again. And you used false information to push this deal through. I let that sit for a second. So no, this isn't complicated. It's very simple. You fix it. He shook his head again, more frustrated this time. We can't just give him back something that's already gone. I didn't ask for the same car, I said. He paused. I asked for the same value. That changed something. Not completely, but enough. Because now the conversation wasn't stuck anymore. It had moved. And he knew it. So what are you saying? He asked carefully. I'm saying you replace what you took with something equal or better. Ayan looked at me again, surprised this time. Didn't expect that. The GM leaned back, thinking. You're asking us to give him a car. I shook my head slowly. I'm telling you to correct your mistake. His expression hardened. That's not realistic. I tilted my head slightly. Neither is explaining fraud to a lawyer. That landed exactly where it needed to. Right in the part of his mind that calculates risk. He looked away for a moment. Then back at me. Trying to decide something. Trying to figure out how far I was willing to go. The truth, farther than he was comfortable with. I can put him in something, he said finally. Not the same, but something decent. No, I said immediately. He frowned. You're not in a position to negotiate like this. I held his gaze. You're not in a position to say no. Silence. Again. But now, it wasn't just tension. It was pressure. Real pressure. The kind that forces decisions. Ian shifted again beside me. I could feel him wanting to speak. Wanting to settle. Wanting to end this before it went further. But I didn't let him. Because settling now would mean losing everything we just gained. The GM rubbed his forehead slowly. This isn't how things usually go, he said. Oh, I replied. That's why you're uncomfortable. He exhaled. Then stood up again. Let me see what I can do. This time, he didn't wait for my response. He just walked away. And as he disappeared into the back, I leaned back in my chair for the first time since we walked in. Not relaxed. Not yet. But in control. Because now, he wasn't deciding whether to help us. He was deciding how much it would cost him not to. And that was exactly where I wanted him. He took longer this time. Not a few minutes. Long enough for the room to feel different. The energy had shifted completely. When we first walked in, they were in control. Now they were calculating. And that meant one thing. They were worried. Ian leaned closer again. What if he comes back with something bad? He whispered. I didn't look at him. Then we say no. And if he refuses, then we make it worse for him. He swallowed. You're really serious about this? I finally turned slightly toward him. Yes. Because this wasn't just about fixing a bad deal anymore. This was about making sure they understood something very clearly. They don't get to play with people's lives and walk away clean. Footsteps approached. The GM was coming back. Slower this time. Less confident. He sat down without saying anything for a second. Then he placed a paper on the table. I found a vehicle, he said. I didn't touch it. What kind? 2007 Focus. Decent condition. About 10,000 more miles than his trade-in. Ian looked at me unsure. Waiting. Hoping I'd accept it. I didn't even glance at the paper. The GM blinked. That's a fair replacement, he said, a little sharper now. It's not, I replied calmly. It's cheaper, lower value, worse long term. It's still a car. I leaned forward slightly. And this is still fraud. That stopped him. Again. He looked at me, frustration starting to show clearly now. I'm trying to resolve this, he said. And I'm trying to make sure you actually do, I replied. Silence. Ian shifted beside me. I could feel the pressure getting to him. He wasn't built for this kind of standoff. Zara, maybe it's okay, he said quietly. It's not, I said without even looking at him. But it's better than nothing, he added. I turned to him fully this time. That's exactly how people like them win. He didn't respond. Because he knew I was right. I turned back to the GM. Same or better, I said again. I already told you. And I already answered you. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Because control isn't about volume. It's about certainty. And I wasn't uncertain about anything. The GM leaned back, clearly irritated now. You're asking for too much. No, I said quietly. I'm asking for exactly what you took. He shook his head. I'm giving him a car for free. I held his gaze. No, you're not. That made him pause. You took his trade-in. You sold it. You made money on it. I tapped the table once. And you pushed a deal through using false information. I leaned in just slightly. This isn't generosity. It's correction. Silence again. But now it felt heavier than before. Because the conversation had reached a point where neither side could pretend anymore. This wasn't negotiation. This was pressure meeting resistance. And one of them was going to break. The GM exhaled slowly and stood up again. This is unreasonable, he said. What's unreasonable, I replied, is thinking this ends quietly if you don't fix it. He stopped for a second. Not turning around. Just standing there. Processing that. Then he walked away again. This time faster. Ian let out a breath he'd been holding. This is getting serious, he said. It already was, I replied. What if he just says no and asks us to leave? I looked at him calmly. Then we leave. And then? Then we take everything. We have somewhere much worse for him. He went quiet. Because now he understood. This wasn't bluffing. This was a path. And we were already on it. Minutes passed. Longer than before. People walked by, pretending not to notice us. But they noticed. You could always tell. The way they glanced quickly. The way they avoided eye contact. Something was off. And they knew it. Finally, the GM came back again. But this time, he wasn't alone. Another man stood slightly behind him. Older, quieter, watching. Interesting. The GM sat down again, slower than before. More careful with his words now. I checked everything again, he said. We might have another option. Better. That word wasn't said, but it was there. Hidden in his tone. What kind of option? I asked. He glanced briefly at the man behind him, then back at me. Something closer in value. Closer. Not enough. I didn't respond right away. I let him feel that hesitation. Because hesitation in moments like this creates pressure. And, I said finally, it's not perfect, he added quickly. Of course it isn't, I replied. Nothing about this situation is. The man behind him shifted slightly. Still silent but paying attention. Good. More eyes meant more pressure. And more pressure meant mistakes. Bring it, I said. The GM nodded once. But before he stood up, I added something. Quiet, controlled, and just so we're clear. He paused. This is your last chance to fix this the easy way. Silence. Not just between us, but around us. Because even the air felt heavier now. If the next option isn't right, I continued. We stopped talking. He didn't respond. He didn't argue. He just nodded once and walked away again. And this time, I knew something had changed completely. Because now, he wasn't trying to minimize the damage anymore. He was trying to survive it. And that meant one thing. We were very close to winning. The moment he walked away, I knew this was it. Not because of what he said, but because of how he said it. Careful, controlled, measured. People only talk like that when they're out of options. Ian sat back, rubbing his hands together. I don't like this, he muttered. You don't have to, I said quietly. You just have to stay quiet. He looked at me, a mix of fear and trust in his eyes. What if this goes too far? I turned to him slowly. It already has. And that was the truth. The moment they changed his income on that application, this stopped being a deal. It became leverage. And I was using every bit of it. The showroom felt different. Quieter. Not because people stopped talking, but because they were paying attention without looking like they were. Something was happening. And everyone could feel it. Footsteps again. This time slower. Deliberate. The GM returned alone. But he wasn't the same man who first sat in that chair. His confidence was gone. Now he looked like someone trying to control damage before it spread. He placed a file on the table. Didn't open it. Didn't slide it forward. Just left it there. I found something better, he said. I didn't move. What kind of better? He took a breath. 2008 Civic. Ian looked at me quickly. I stayed still. Details, I said. Lower depreciation, higher reliability, about 5,000 more miles than his trade-in, but overall higher market value. Better. Not perfect. But finally better. I let a few seconds pass. Not because I needed time to think, but because he needed time to feel it. The weight of waiting. The uncertainty. The lack of control. Loan? I asked. Cancelled, he replied immediately. Fees. Gone. Current car? We take it back. And the difference? He hesitated. Just for a second. There is no difference. That was the first honest answer he'd given. Ian leaned closer to me, barely whispering. This sounds good. I didn't respond to him. Not yet. Because this wasn't just about good. This was about complete correction. I looked at the GM. Put it in writing. He nodded quickly. Already expecting that. He opened a file and turned it toward me. Everything was there. Clear, structured, final. No hidden charges. No vague language. No room to twist anything later. He'd had learned fast as. I read every line carefully. Not rushing. Not trusting. Verifying. Because this was the moment most people relax. And that's exactly when mistakes happen. I wasn't most people. Ian shifted beside me again. You think it's okay? He asked quietly. I finished reading the last line. Then closed the file slowly. And finally, I nodded. It's acceptable. The GM let out a breath. Not loud, but noticeable. Relief. Real relief. Because for the first time since we sat down, he knew this might actually end. Good, he said quickly. I'll have the paperwork finalized right away. I held up a hand slightly. Not yet. He froze. What now? I looked at him calmly. You're going to say it. He frowned. Say what? The reason this is happening. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Necessary. I'm not doing that, he said. You are, I replied. That's not part of any agreement. It is now. His expression tightened again. This is unnecessary. No, I said quietly. It's accountability. He looked away for a second. Then back at me, trying to decide if this was worth pushing back on. It wasn't. We both knew that. Ian looked confused. He didn't understand why I was doing this. But I did. Because deals fix problems. Accountability prevents them from happening again. And I wasn't here just to fix one situation. I was here to make sure they remembered it. The GM exhaled slowly. Then finally said, there was incorrect information submitted on the application. I didn't react. That's not what happened, I said. His jaw tightened. You altered the income. Silence. He didn't speak. You submitted false information to the bank, I continued. Still nothing. And now you're correcting it. The room felt still. Even the background noise seemed distant. Finally, he nodded. Yes, that was enough. Not perfect, but real, and real mattered. I leaned back slightly. Now we're done. The tension broke. Not completely, but enough to breathe again. The GM stood up quickly. I'll get everything prepared. This time, I didn't stop him. He walked away faster than before. Because now, he wasn't escaping pressure. He was finishing damage control. Ian turned to me, eyes wide. I can't believe that just happened. I looked at him calmly. It's not over yet. What do you mean? Paperwork, I said. Until it's signed, nothing is real. He nodded slowly, trying to absorb everything. Trying to understand how close he came to being stuck in something he couldn't escape. Minutes later, the GM returned with the final documents. This time, everything moved quickly. Signatures, confirmations, final checks. The original loan was canceled. The new car deal gone. Reversed. Erased. They took the car back and replaced it with something better. No extra cost. No hidden terms. Just correction. Exactly the way it should have been from the start. But I didn't stand up immediately. I looked at the GM one last time. He avoided eye contact at first, then forced himself to meet my gaze. You handled this smart, he said. I shook my head slightly. No. I handled what you did. He didn't respond, because there was nothing left to say. And for the first time since we walked in, he understood something clearly. This wasn't luck. This wasn't negotiation. This was consequence. And he had just barely avoided something much worse. I stood up. Ian followed. We started walking toward the exit. And as the doors opened, I knew one thing for sure. They weren't going to forget this. Not the mistake. Not the pressure. And definitely not me. We stepped outside, and for the first time since this started, Ian breathed normally, like something heavy had finally lifted off his chest. He looked down at the new keys in his hand, turning them slowly, almost like he didn't believe they were real. "I don't understand how you did that," he said quietly. I didn't answer right away. Because the truth was simple. This was never about doing something extraordinary. It was about knowing when someone crosses a line, and not letting them get away with it. "They made a mistake," I said finally. "And we didn't let it go." He nodded slowly, still processing everything, still trying to catch up to what had just happened inside. We walked toward the car. Not the one he came with. That one was already part of their problem now. This one was different. Better. Cleaner. A correction, not a compromise. Ian stopped before opening the door. "You could have just taken the first offer," he said. That focus, it was still a car. I looked at him. "And you would have spent the next few years paying for a mistake that wasn't even yours." He didn't argue. Because he knew. That's exactly what would have happened. That's how these situations usually end. People settle. They accept less just to escape pressure. And the ones who cause the problem, they move on like nothing happened. But not this time. This time, they had to sit in that pressure. Feel it. Fix it. We got in the car. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The engine started smoothly. Stable. Everything the last situation wasn't. As we pulled out of the lot, Ian looked back once. Just a quick glance. Like he was leaving something behind. And he was. A bad decision. A worse outcome. And a system that almost trapped him in it. "You think they'll do this again?" he asked. I looked ahead. They already have. That's the part people don't see. This wasn't the first time. It never is. Mistakes like that don't happen once. They happen again and again, until someone stops it. "But next time," I added, "they'll think twice." He nodded. And this time there was something different in his expression. Not just relief. Awareness. He understood now. Not just what happened, but how close he came to losing control of everything. We drove in silence for a while. Not awkward. Not heavy. Just quiet. The kind of silence that comes after something intense finally ends. Then he said something that made me glance at him. "You didn't just fix it, did you?" I raised an eyebrow slightly. "What do you mean?" He hesitated. "Back there when you made him say it." I didn't respond immediately. Because that moment mattered more than anything else that happened. I needed him to understand. I said, "Understand what?" Like he got caught. Ian looked at me, waiting for more. That it wasn't just a deal going wrong, I continued. It was a line being crossed. And lines like that have consequences. He leaned back in his seat slowly, thinking about it, letting it sink in. Because now he saw it differently too. Not just as a lucky escape, but as something bigger. Something that could have gone very wrong. if no one stopped it. We reached his place. He turned off the engine but didn't get out right away. Thank you, he said. Simple, honest. I nodded once. You're welcome. He stepped out, closed the door, then paused for a second before walking away. Like he wanted to say something else, but didn't know how. Then he left. And just like that, it was over. Or at least, that's what most people would think. But for me, things like this don't just end. They stay with you. Not as anger, not as revenge waiting to happen again, but as a reminder of how easily people get taken advantage of how quickly things can go wrong when no one questions anything, and of how important it is to push back when it does. Because somewhere out there right now, someone is sitting in that same office, signing papers they don't fully understand, trusting someone they shouldn't, believing everything is fine when it isn't. And maybe they won't have someone sitting next to them who notices the details, who reads every line, who refuses to stay quiet. That's the difference. Not intelligence, not luck. Awareness, and the willingness to act on it. My name is Zara, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. People will take advantage of you, as long as you let them. But the moment you stop letting them, everything changes. And sometimes, the quietest response creates the loudest consequences.